Well, welcome to Dakota Starry Nights in the daytime. We're out here in western South Dakota. And I want to introduce you to the boys. They're out here for the Mercury Transit, and it's already begun. I've got a hunter's blind set up over there, and we're going to be imaging it for a time lapse with a quirk. So here's the inside of the hunter's blind. Now I've got the equatorial platform, the Atlas Pro AZEQ, an 80mm Meade Adventure scope with an upgraded 2-inch focuser, the ZWO cam, and the quirk. It's pretty cold out. It's probably about 6-7 degrees, and yet the quirk is able to come on band, so that doesn't seem to be a problem. Perhaps it's because it's in this little shelter. I do have a little heater down there on the ground. You can see it right next to the battery, that deal there. Got a generator running outside to power all this stuff up. Here's the laptop. As you can see there, we've got Mercury. We're doing the Mercury Transit, and I'm doing a time lapse, stacking 25 out of 250. So now I'm pulling in 250 frames for prominences, so that when I put these two together, we can get some nice proms in the Mercury Transit. So far it's working pretty good. So the sun's already up, and it was kind of in a cloud bank at the beginning, but we were able to get above the clouds in time to get most of the transit. Here in South Dakota, it started already before the sun came up. But this is a great place out here, even though it's pretty bitter cold, because the fella has a clear view all the way to the horizon, and was able to catch it right from the start. Just finished imaging the Mercury Transit, and in this episode what I want to cover here with you guys is an idea that I had for using a hunter blind as a shelter for astrophotography. Now, you know, a lot of times you've got to get out to these dark sites, and you know, you're out in the wilds, which is kind of cool. That's really one of the parts I like about it, like being out here in this beautiful open country here. But you have to deal with the elements, the cold and frost and what have you, especially on a day like today. So the hunter's blind allows you to be inside an enclosure, and yet you're still able to get your scope pointed out. This typically is used as a shooter's window, but it also works really well if you have your scope mounted pretty close to the edge there, and there's room in there for a table and a laptop, and I had a little electric heater. Of course, I got a generator, a Honda inverter, and that ran all of it, and the quirk had no problem staying on band being in a shelter there, and the heater was generating some heat. Now, it wasn't toasty warm, you know, like roasting chestnuts on an open fire in there, but it was doable. At least, you know, a guy could complete the data acquisition. So if you're out at a dark site at nighttime, you could still use this same system. Now, what I did here, normally the window, it comes a little bit lower. It's the shooter's window, and it usually comes about right here. So what I did was I took a pair of scissors and cut it up here, up to about the edge here, and as well as right here, to give me a little bit more sky room, so that if I needed to go up higher for a deep sky object, I could get the scope up higher. So this is the first time I've used it, and it worked out pretty well. It was really cold out here, so I got out here pretty early. It was about 5:30 in the morning, and it was still dark out here, but I needed to do that in order to do a polar alignment. I wanted to do a time lapse of the Mercury Transit, so the polar scope was good enough, because you're shooting video every 5 minutes is what I did. So earlier, when I was inside there, I grabbed some video with an SJ cam to show you what was going on in there. So let's take a look at some of that video, and then I'll bring you closer in from the outside so you can see what this looks like out there. Alright, well, I've closed the door because now we're up high enough to where we're imaging through what is normally the shoot hole. There's the scope and the laptop. It just fits just about right. You know, you can just about get everything in here, and a little stool and a little room on the side for a thermos or whatever. Speaking of which, I want to go have something hot to eat. That's what it's like in here. It's comfortable enough. No complaints. So what I'm doing a chromosphere, 2 chromospheres and 1 prom every 5 minutes, and I've got this little timer app. Works pretty good. Gives me the countdown. I don't know if you can see it. And right now there's Mercury right there. I don't know if you can see that. That's where it is in real time right now. Almost to the center of this frame. It's past the center of the disc, but the way I had this orientated, I have a 40 millimeter reducer on the 80 millimeter. The cap that it comes with, you take that center cap off, reduces to 40, gives me f10, and then I've got a 2x power mate in there, so I'm at f20, and gives me just a nice field of view, and yet I'm able to get the f ratio that the quirk requires. So this has a side door that you can get in and out, and it's a pretty simple deal. These go for about $125 at a sporting goods store like Cabela's or someplace like that. Lets a guy get in there. There's plenty of room in there for a nice little table, a chair, and your mount and battery and what have you. So what's cool about it is that it pops up. You don't have to stake it down or lace poles or anything like that. Kind of spring loaded right here. You pull this like that and pull that like that. It's totally self-contained, and it folds up into a bundle about that wide and about that long. This is designed for hunters, so it's designed to be taken out into a field and carried, so it doesn't weigh like 40, 50 pounds or anything. But typically, I drive pretty close to where I'm going to be setting up anyway, because I've got the mount and everything like that. So the way I did it, I set the mount up, put the table, put everything in there, and then this lifts up like this. And I mean, there it is. It's like really cool. So you bring it up and then just cover everything up, and got the heater over here. Over here is a heater and a thermos there, and this is the little chair, a little fold-up chair, laptop. And it makes a big difference. I've been out here on this dark site for a number of times, and I've been out here in the winter time, and I'll tell you, when you're totally exposed with a clear sky above your head, it could really get kind of chilly. And the other problem is your equipment starts to get a lot of frost. And I didn't have no dew heaters or nothing on this, and yet everything was fine. It had no problem with it. And the quirk is still on band, 3.5 hours, and it's still on band. So I'm going to unplug it. Okay, well, that'll wrap this up, and clear skies, keep your polar line, and for goodness sake, try to stay warm this time of year. All right.